You got your Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365, and we got one of our own to join us from Sports Take Afternoons here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Derrick Gunn, good enough to jump in with us here on Birds 365. How you be, D Gunn?
Good, guys. How you doing today?
Good, D Gunn. Good to see you. I need you to do something for me.
Wait, let me just say this though. I'm kind of disappointed that you asked me to jump on because I was enjoying the debate between you two so much.
Oh.
I was like, let it go. Just let it go.
You got things to do. You got stuff to take care of today. We're gonna make you sit in the green room for a half an hour. We probably
kept you in the green room too long. So apologies there.
Don't worry about that.
Gunn. Silly season. We're 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
I need you to stop or throw fuel on the fire. Yeah. But here are the two things driving me crazy. With the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jody and I were just talking about Howie Roseman. Nobody knows his sort of belief system better than D Gunn. Bijan Robinson at number 10, and the Eagles trading for Devin White. Help me.
I will tell you this: they will not take a running back at number 10. We can stop that nonsense now. As far as Devin White, from what I was told was, as much as they would like him, they don't have the money to pay him $11 million right now. You still have that big cloud over you that you've got to pay the quarterback. And the way they base it now is they did just enough in the offseason to fill a need on the back end of the defense that they wanted to fill. And hopefully they can fill some other areas strategically with youth. And I know this debate about Bijan has been going on for a long time. As far as I know, from what I've been told, they're not looking at a running back in the first round, because they feel they have other needs. And as we know, if they stayed at 30th, don't be surprised, and I've said this a number of times, if they took an offensive lineman. This team, historically, in recent years, feels that the best way to build their team is from the inside out, meaning in the trenches, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive line in the trenches. They're always looking for another good, versatile, cross-trainable offensive lineman, and there's several of them in this draft that could slide all the way down the board because of other teams' needs. As far as the running back situation goes, their method, even go back to Doug Peterson's era, their method is tried and true, that if you have the right offensive line, that you don't need an elite running back to have a successful running game. They like their running backs by committee. And you look at a lot of successful teams across the NFL, the 49ers are a team that runs the ball by committee. Baltimore's a team that runs the ball by committee. It just they don't put that premium on taking an elite back at number 5, number 7, number 10. And especially when you consider that this team this year lost their top 5 tacklers on defense by way of free agency, you've got to replenish the cupboard. You have enough veteran presence there to be a good defense. And if you can add another elite player, and when I say elite player, a player that can give them help now, and I'm not here convinced 100% it's going to be a D lineman or a linebacker or a linebacker. I'm just saying if you get whatever player they pick, and I'm believing they're going to go defense again, especially where they are. He's got to be able to be somebody you can plug and play. Now, that player will have the luxury of learning from a Fletcher Cox, from a Milton Williams. There's enough presence there to help them get over the hump, but I expect to see them play a lot more snaps than Jordan Davis did a year ago because of the personnel they had in front of Jordan Davis when he was drafted.
All right, D Gunn, I got one more Bijan question for you, and I know Bijan's driving Johnny nuts, but I know that a pre-draft visit is just that. It's a visit. It doesn't compel them to do anything.
Right.
And you get 30 pre-draft visits, and as of right now, the Eagles only have 6 picks. So you can't just pick everybody who comes in for a pre-draft visit.
Right.
When you do it for a reason, the only running back that the Philadelphia Eagles have brought in for a pre-draft visit is Bijan Robinson. Why would you even do that if you say, listen, we got number 10. We're not going to take him anyway. He's not falling down to 30. Why would you use one of your pre-draft visits on a player that both you and John say there is no chance whatsoever he ends up as a Philadelphia Eagle?
They still like to cross the T's and dot their I's. They need to talk to every player they can on a one-on-one basis to get a better grasp on the personality. And let's face it, bring in 30 players is a lot of players to bring in. And they do it to do their due diligence. I don't think it would happen. But what if a player they really like somehow slips to the second or the third round, i.e. Nakobe Dean, who everybody projected as a top 25 pick, and all of a sudden he's still sticking there in the second or third round? Well, then that's a better value pick for them at that particular spot. They want to make sure they have a good understanding of what he's not. They already looked at the film. When they bring these players in, it's not about the film. It's about that one last physical. It's about sitting across the table from them, getting to know them as a person, getting to know their family. They've already done their dossier on them in terms of background checks. The guy who runs their security department, Dom DeSandro, is one of the best, if not the best in the business when it comes to doing background checks. So you do your due diligence because, as we know, look at how many mock drafts there are across the country. And I mean from the so-called experts. Once you get past the second or third picks, nothing makes sense anymore. People trade up, people trade down. A player knew was a slam dunk is going at number 6, drops to number 17. You're just doing your due diligence to make sure everybody who's potentially on your board is exactly what you want them to be.
And I would add one more thing to it, Gunn, to Jody's point. Sometimes it is about the smoke screen. So let's say Jalen Carter's not there and Tyree Wilson's not there, and obviously Will Anderson's not going to be there. And you don't want to leap and take a Peter Skoronski that high.
Right.
Maybe you try to convince a team who wants Bijan Robinson, hey, better come up and get him because we might take him. We've done our due diligence.
That's right.
We've had them in, and all of a sudden they can knock back a few picks, pick up some extra draft capital, and get Peter Skoronski. So that's part of it as well.
Absolutely.
And Howie's obviously tremendous. But from that discussion we were having when you were in the green room, D-Gun, sometimes I think, for the most part, I'm on board with Howie. I think he makes good decisions for the most part. Sometimes I think he's a little bit too stringent to that valuation I was talking about. Everything's got to match up. Everything's got to be perfect. I can't take this position here. And every once in a while, there's an outlier. Christian McCaffrey was that back in the day. Right. Nobody knows it because the Eagles didn't, he didn't fall to the Eagles. Hasn't been a linebacker for years, never been a safety. Do you think he's a little bit too stringent to sort of that pick's got to match value?
I think when it comes to a position like the linebackers that they've neglected for years, I think in that regard, little too stringent. But when you look at what they've done outside of a Jalen Reagor, when you look at what they've done, I think you have to give them compliments for what they've been able to do and how they've been able to plug and play players along the way. What I like about what Howie has conceded over the last couple of years is, and he's told me this a couple of times, he had to learn to listen to the room better. And I mean his scouts and other coaches in terms of this is the kind of player you're looking for. Howie would listen to players and then make a determination on his feeling. Now, the last couple of years, in terms of what they draft, where they get the players from, i.e. the SEC, which they neglected for years, Howie has started to the
Alabama.
Are you kidding me? Howie has done a much better job in terms of listening to the room and people around him and basically taking what they've said to heart. You're paying these guys to beat the pavement to find you exactly what you're looking for and what they feel you need. And years have gone by where Howie would frustrate his scouts and things like that because he would kind of not discredit, but just disengage from what the room was saying. So the only thing I would say that kills me about Howie and the organization is how they've neglected strongly looking at that linebacking position, in the top 20, top 25, and you see them go to other teams and become Pro Bowl type players, and it drives you nuts. But everything else about what they've been able to do, I can't complain with one iota.
All right, D-Gun, I'm going to ask you one of my favorite questions.
I didn't do it.
The deep hypothetical. Probably not going to play out this way, but it gets me to a point that I want you to answer my question. The NFL draft takes place. 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks. Teams trade up. All 4 of the quarterbacks are gone in the first 4 picks. Jalen Carter, Seattle's had in for a visit. We know how talented a player is. Their investigation says, all right, he made a major mistake. He's never going to, we believe him when he says he learns from the mistake. They take him at number 5. Detroit, who just traded Jeff Okudah for a 5th-round pick. 3 years later, after taking him at the number 3 spot in the draft,
and they had to pay some money on top of it to get that.
They kind of admitted they might have missed that pick, but they know that they need another corner now, so they take the best available corner, whether they think it's Witherspoon or Gonzalez, whoever it is. So there we are at pick number 7, and there hasn't been an edge player taken yet, and the Eagles are at 10. So you can theorize they can move up those 3 spots if Vegas, who's sitting there, is willing to give up the pick. If Vegas isn't one of those teams that traded up to get one of those quarterbacks in the first 4 spots, you get my drift. If all of the defensive ends are on the board, how do you rank them? And is there a big enough gulf between 1 and 2 that you would say, all right, we think we're going to get the second guy at 10? No. Let's go get the first guy and move up. Would it be worthy to move up? How do you rank the top 3, 4, 5 defensive ends in this draft, Gunn?
Well, you have to start with Will Anderson. Will Anderson, there's no question about that. You have to. If he's sitting there at the board, I think it's a slam dunk that you go up and grab this guy. I mean,
at 7, you whatever it costs to go from 10 to 7. If Anderson's there, you're doing it.
I get him. And then you go to Miles Murphy. Then you go Tyree Wilson.
You like Murphy second.
I like Murphy. Second.
Same as me, D. Gunn. You and I are on the same page here, brother. Well, Wilson and Murphy, Wilson, Murphy, Wilson, either way. I think they're very similar. But a lot of people have Murphy ranked like 4, 5, 6 out of the defensive ends. And there's an argument to be made that he should be the only one behind Will Anderson.
But, when you say 2 in my 2A, my 2A would have to be Nolan Smith. This kid 240 pounds, running a 4.39, coming off the edge. Can you imagine him on one side and Hassan Reddick on the other side playing meat at the quarterback? And then Tyree Wilson is no slouch as well. So that's my 4. And don't count out the kid from Iowa.
Lucas Van Ness.
No, do not count him out, man. He's a bigger body at 6'5". And he's one of those D linemen. You can put him in at the tackle position if you have to, or you can put him on the outside. Strong on the outside. He can hold his own. Good tackler. Can blow up plays. Can hit the gap. Sometimes we put too high a measurable on just a straight ahead 4.3, 4.4 speed. There's other intangibles that you have to be able to consider. So those are the guys that I look at. I've looked at film on these guys, and I'm like, if the Eagles get any one of these guys, they're in good shape. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, Nolan Smith is an interesting one to me because I think the Eagles really like him. Really good player. But at what point, D-Gun, I kind of mentioned this last year, it didn't hurt him. But I look at Hassan Reddick is undersized. And then you would have a really undersized guy, as you mentioned, on the other end. Josh Sweat's still going to be a big part of it, but still, at times, then you have 2 linebackers who I don't care what the Eagles say. They don't hit 220. I saw N'Kobe every day. He ain't 220. So they got 2 linebackers playing at about 215. A little bit undersized, a little bit of a concern there.
Yeah, if you John, if you look across the board, a lot of these defenses are getting smaller. Offensive lines are getting bigger, and defensive lines and linebackers are getting smaller and quicker in a lot of ways. They want to counter speed with speed. They feel if they have enough speed on the defense to be disruptive, they can disrupt an offense, and in particular a quarterback, in terms of rhythm, pushing them off spots, forcing them to make decisions a lot sooner. Things of that nature. You're right. You're looking at undersized players, but you look at the guys they do have in the trenches right now, in Fletcher, in Jordan Davis, in Milton Williams. They've got some beef in the middle to hold the fort down in that regard. And that's why you see a lot of these teams across the board getting smaller, faster guys coming off the edge. They're willing to give up a lot of stoutness on the edge to be quicker, to get to make things happen a lot sooner than the opposition would want. You see these smaller, people keep talking about, guys like Josh Sweat, Derrick Barnett, their ability to have that bend, to get up under these trees that they're playing offensive tackles right now. And there's a lot to be said for that. Von Miller is one of the best of the best. When he's healthy, he's not the biggest guy on that edge, but he's one of the most dangerous, out there on the edge. And you see this time and time again now. This game changes so much in terms of, what is a position player supposed to be anymore? It wasn't that long ago when the running back position was considered an elite player. Now running backs are dime a dozen in the National Football League. It wasn't that long ago when your edge rushers all had to be 6'5", with long wingspans. Not anymore. Now you see these NASCARs coming off the edges on these defenses. So the criteria of what a certain player is supposed to be changes, because as we know, the NFL is a copycat league. And if teams see one or two teams having a good measure of success with this type of player in terms of height and body weight, all of a sudden that's what they're looking for next to complement their defenses.
All right, D-Gun, I gave you the potential of Will Anderson for the Eagles. You can only hope, but highly doubtful. Much more possible is Skoronski at number 11. If that's the number 10, if that's the case, is he a true luxury pick who just sits year one, or is he given a chance to go in and win the job at right guard? If they're going to put Cam Jurgens there as well, a competition between the two. If Peter Skoronski is their pick at number 10, will he start day one of the upcoming season?
I know the Eagles have a lot of value on Cam Jurgens, and we think that he's going to be plugged in automatically at that right guard position. But if they draft a Skoronski that high, it tells me that they want him to come in here and compete for that job. He's considered the best of the offensive linemen coming out, and he's more suited to be a guard more so than a tackle. And if that is the case, you know what, Jody, it could go either way. The Eagles love to have a surplus of offensive linemen. And I know it would drive people nuts when you consider what's on the board that high, and especially they do have needs on defense. They do need a linebacker. They do need another young corner. In this game today, you can never have enough corners, and they do need another cornerback there as well. But again, I go back to what I said initially. This team historically loves to build the team from the trenches.
Yep.
There's no question about it. And so I don't take Skoronski out of the equation based on what I know about the history of this team drafting players. So to answer your question, if they took a Skoronski, it's a wait and see. You could be right. I could be right. John could be right, whichever side of the fence John is on in this situation. He could come in here and he could be your day one starter at that right guard spot, or day one Cam just to get that playing experience, put him in the right guard now that Kelsey is back, and let Skoronski be the guy who sits, waits, and learns from these guys.
Yeah. The offensive line, and that's one where I give the Eagles tremendous credit because, while everyone wants to play fantasy football, they want Bijan to add to AJ and Devontae and Dallas Goedert and on and on and on. Two things. There's only one football, and number two, if you can't block people, it doesn't matter who you have at the skill positions.
There you go.
They're going to kill the quarterback. Number 30 is interesting to me, D-Gun. I think because of the 50-year option, knowing Howie, he'll probably want to trade down if he can. But you need two to tango at all times. If they're forced to stay at 30, there's an interesting player for a couple of reasons, to me at least.
Right.
Brian Branch, another Alabama kid.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles have never taken a safety in the first round of the draft. Never. You can't even go back to Jerry Robinson or Keith Byers. They've never taken a safety. But he's not just a safety. He's also a slot corner. And we just saw with C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Avonte Maddox, Jonathan Gannon would always talk about that mirrored sort of position they have at safety.
Right.
they're playing the same defense with Sean Desai, and ipso facto, they want a mirrored player. Why not take the mirrored player, Brian Branch?
You know what? I don't disagree with you. Unfortunately, this draft is a poor draft for safeties coming out this year. But the kid played for Alabama. That's all I need to know. Alabama is a pro football factory. I don't care who you are. If you play for Alabama and you play extensively, you have a pretty good chance of excelling in the National Football League. And I like this kid. This kid is another, I would say, you talk about a slot corner. I'd like him more. I'd like to equate him more as a Malcolm Jenkins type. He can be a Swiss Army knife for you. He can come down. He can play in the box. He can play up high. You got Avonte Maddox at that slot position right now. And there's a chance, who knows, they may move Avonte back even, to play safety. So you're right. They might be looking for a new slot corner. But I like the diversity of this kid. I like his size, his ability to move, his tackling. He's a sure-handed tackler, and he can do a bunch of multiple things for you. I wouldn't rule that out of the equation, but John, you're right. Howie loves to have those middle round picks. This is one of those few drafts where he doesn't have any. Right now, the cupboard is bare in the middle rounds, and he loves having those 4th and 5th round picks. I would not be surprised one iota if they trade out of that 30 spot to garner more picks in the middle round. And I know that that's going to make a lot of fans edgy because they want to see who the Eagles are going to get right now. But in terms of getting better value and getting more picks, don't rule out Howie, playing the game of moving back. I mean, think about it right now. Even with this defense set the way it is right now, this is a pretty good-looking defense on paper. It may not be that exceptional defense that it was in 2022, the way they played in terms of rushing the passer, getting to the quarterback, defending the back end, but you have cornerstone pieces already on that defense. You've got your 2 corners back. You went out and got a quality safety from Pittsburgh. Don't rule out Reed Blankenship being the other safety as well yet. I'm not convinced. He still has to show me that he can be an every down safety. He had some good moments. And he had some moments where youth reared its ugly head on him. And that's understandable when you play as sporadically as he did. But this kid, Branch, could be a plug-and-play type player for you. Let him learn on the fly. Let him make his mistakes. And while he's learning and making those mistakes, it's not hurting the defense too much because they have so many other players at positions that could cover up for those deficiencies until he's up to speed.
All right, D-Gun, I need to talk to you about the wide receiver position, which you would think, well, what are you talking about? We got Devontae Smith. We got A.J. Brown.
Sure.
Well, they've got 3 wide receivers on the field about 75% of the time, so wide receiver 3 is kind of important. And for me, Quez Watkins had a pretty putrid year, and They lost their wide receiver 4, the coach's pet, the great blocking wide receiver, Zach Pascal. So they definitely need to upgrade the wide receiver position on this team. All apologies to my guy, Greg Ward. How pressing a need is either an upgrade at wide receiver 3, replacing Zach Pascal? It's, for me, kind of an under-the-radar spot where the Eagles need to get better. How important in your eyes is it?
Well, it's a priority that they look at possibly getting another slot type receiver. When I look at the slot receivers, I want somebody who's similar to a Pascal. He's not a guy who's going to be a marquee headliner, but somebody that can do the little things. He has the ability to shake a safety coming down or a slot corner. He can step up and hold a block for a few seconds to help get that running game going. Can you imagine if Devontae or AJ went down for a significant period of time next season? That would be a concern. That's a huge concern because I can tell you this: they're not 100% sold on Quez Watkins, and it's not to say they're going to just send him on his way, but I don't want to say this, but you look at how quick they gave up on a John Hightower, And you look at what Quez has done or not has done. Now, he's shown that he can stretch the field, and he's made some deep ball catches, but his inconsistency has been a concern for this team.
Mm-hmm.
You can never have enough pass catchers. I mean, you look at the Eagles' frontline pass catchers, and that includes the tight end in Dallas Goedert. But look at how their position suffered on the tight end in terms of a pass catcher once he went down. You had guys step up and make some key catches, but they're not Dallas Goedert. And that, that's fair to say not many people are when you look at where he is. You can find a good receiver in those middle rounds. But again, you got to have those middle round picks to get yourself one. I don't think it's out of the realm of reality the serious look at a receiver in the second round, to be quite honest with you. And there's enough talent on the board, they can find what they're looking for. And luckily, going in, he's got 2 great pass catchers to learn from. And so it takes some of the pressure off him in terms of, when these wide receivers are drafted high, pressure is on their shoulder. You got to come in and produce right now, like a Justin Jefferson. They don't need another Justin Jefferson, but they do need somebody who can come in that they can plug in, who's reliable, hands, quickness, ability to stretch a field, so on and so forth. And so I would not be surprised if they look at one starting in the second round to bring in.
Reliability, like at Real D Gunn, one of the most reliable guys you can ever count on. Last one from me, D Gunn. Follow Derrick on Twitter. Listen to him here at noon. Sports Take on the JAKIB Media YouTube page. Jody has brought this up, and I'm not concerned. Jody has pointed out the potential hurdles of getting an extension done with Jalen Hurts. Is there any worry with Derrick Gunn that the Eagles won't be able to get an extension done with Jalen Hurts this offseason?
No. Howie has shown when it comes to identifying players they want to sign to long-term deals, he's not bashful about doing it, and he's not bashful about spending the money. You saw what they did with Carson Wentz. As we found out, that was badly spent money, but they're never shy about spending the money. It takes 2 to tango. Now, if I'm sitting in Jalen Hurts' seat and his representation, I'm watching the quarterback scenario, a carousel unfold all offseason, what Jimmy Garoppolo got, what Derek Carr got, so on and so forth, what Lamar Jackson got, and we knew that franchise tag that Baltimore put on Lamar is basically a smokescreen. They're going to work something out in Baltimore as well. If I'm Jalen, as much as I want to get signed and get that money, I'm not in a rush because the two sides already agree that he's not going anywhere. He's going to be with his team long term. Now, when that deal is going to happen, us as in the media and the fan base, we want it done yesterday, so we have numbers to talk about. Where the Eagles are strategically concerned, where Jalen is strategically concerned, there's no rush. There's still plenty of time between now and before the start of this season to finalize this deal. Howie already knows what the numbers are that they're going to have to give him. That's etched in stone. And I think that's a big reason why they haven't been as active this offseason.
Yeah, but I got to jump in here.
Go ahead.
If we know, then why isn't it done? If Howie knows what the numbers are, why hasn't it gotten done? Why wouldn't you get it off your plate? Why wouldn't you set in stone what you're paying Jalen so you know what you can pay it to everybody else?
Because if I'm on Jalen's side, I want to know what length you're talking about. I don't want to sign.
But then how can Howie know what the numbers are if Jalen doesn't know what the numbers are?
He's got a framework.
It's a framework. It's a frame. Yeah. What if Jalen only wants a 3-year deal?
It's not like it's going to be, $52 million or $35 million. Howie's in, he's got a good.
In the ballpark.
Yeah, he's in the ballpark.
They already know. Based on what Kyler Murray made, based on what Cleveland gave to Deshaun Watson, Howie knows what ballpark he's in terms of what he's going to have to pay this young man.
Yeah.
To me, it's the length of the deal. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I don't want a 6-7-year deal. I want a 3-year deal because then I'm able to go back to the table in 3 years while I'm still in my prime and negotiate a better deal. The way the numbers are going to continue to go up, the new TV money coming in and so on and so forth, if I continue
So
to
is
play,
Jalen going to be able to slam dunk a 3-year deal down the Eagles' throats?
I don't know. You know, Howie wants a longer deal, as do all general managers. But you got to hem and haw. You got to give and both sides are going to have to give something to get to arrive at that medium. You know, that's what it comes down to. Management wants a longer term deal. An athlete in his prime at 24 years old, who's considered one of the best at his position, wants a shorter term deal.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So he can go back and make
Joe
even more
Banner
money.
has advocated that Jalen should do that. Now, a lot of other people think, because you and I have gotten to know Jalen a little bit, and you know, I think he's the guy that's going to help the team win. He wants to win. That's not an act. He wants to win. People have talked about the Patrick Mahomes deal, so you can manipulate it cap-wise as it moves along. I don't think it's going to go to that level. So I think Deacon's right. It's going to be in the middle somewhere in the middle. That's how it would be. And I told Jody, June 1st, baby, bookkeeping day. June 1st to June 10th. That's where I get hyper.
We're going to the outer limits, June 10th. I got a countdown every single day that Jalen's not signed between now and June 10th.
No, just June 1st and June 10th.
Yeah, June 1st and 10th.
Oh, well, he could sign today, couldn't he?
Yeah, but no,
but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Jody, here's what I can tell you.
Don't worry about it. I'm saying don't worry about it until June 1st. If it doesn't happen from June 1st to June 10th, you shouldn't worry about it. But if you want to, go ahead. I'm saying don't even put it in the back pocket till June 1st.
Jody, here's what you do. Find a hobby that distracts you between now and June 1st to June 10th.
It's called horse racing.
Whether
Kentucky Derby is right in the middle of that, as a matter of fact.
Okay, that's a one-time event. And you need to find a daily hobby. Like
they run
fishing,
daily.
golf,
not a problem. They're running somewhere across this great land. I can go find some pari-mutuel action. That won't be a problem.
Maybe take up knitting or crocheting or something like that. Something to ease your mind, you know, and to get to not fray your nerves, you know, worrying about this thing. It's going to happen when it's supposed to happen.
10th, I got it. And John and I were in a little semantical debate. My issue again, I don't like the use of the term lottery pick, luxury pick. No, it's a depth pick. There's a difference between depth and luxury. And I know it's semantical, and I get caught up on these things, and it's probably pretty stupid on my part. But yeah, that's what I do. I worry about things like this. I get into debates with myself. I should just stick to handicapping horses.
You know why? You know why I don't worry about these things? I'm not getting any of this money.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
If I was getting some of the money, I'd be on pins and needles. But I'm not getting any of this money, so
plus,
it happens when it happens.
We got to do our job no matter what happens.
Yeah, there you go.
Who signs, who leaves, who goes.
Exactly.
Has no effect on me.
The other semantical debate I get in is like the Phillies right now.
Yeah.
Am I nervous? Yeah, that they're off to a 4-8. Am I panicked? There's a difference between panic and nervousness. If we get to June 10th and he's not signed yet, I'm going to say I'm nervous. I'm not going to get to panic, but I will admit to being nervous if he's Jalen Hurts is not signed by June 10th. That's just me.
See, when I look at the Phillies, I'm not nervous. I'm just frustrated with this team because of the boneheaded plays they do. I mean, 8 times they've been thrown out on bases. They're one of the best in the business in terms of hits, but yet they're one of the worst in terms of scoring runners from scoring position.
Right.
You know. The number one ace has not been anything close to himself this year. You know, his MO for the first 3 starts has been he looks good the first 3 or 4 innings, and then all of a sudden the battery catches up to him. You know, and I think his pitches have been flatter. I don't think his pitches, the way he's hit corner to corner with his pitches, have been as crisp. You know, after the first couple of innings. So Wheeler pitched a better game yesterday. The team didn't get enough hits to get him a win. So I'm just frustrated with this team. You know, even without a Bryce Harper, even without Reese Hoskins in there, they still have enough heavyweight hitters to do a lot of damage. They're hitting the ball, they're not hitting timely. So
now baseball is a true marathon. I wouldn't be concerned about the Phillies. Too much talent. It will show up at some point.
Yes.
You know, unless you have like a Tampa. Has Tampa lost yet, Jody?
No, they have not.
Runs away.
No.
And the Phillies don't have to worry about that. So
let's face it, Phillies didn't show up until early June.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they took off.
And hopefully we got the same thing going again this year. Hopefully you can be tuned to Sports Take this afternoon with Derrick, Gunn, Baron Brooks, and Rob Ellis. D-Gun, thanks for getting up early with us today. Appreciate it, bud.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
That is Derrick
Thanks,
Gunn here with us on Birds 365. All right, Jody Mac coming back. We're going to have another good draft guy on coming up less than 20 minutes now. Eric Edholm used to cover the National Football League for Yahoo. This year, the big boss came.
The mothership, the NFL mothership. It's usually ESPN.
But, we can use that Edholm guy. Why don't you come right for us? So Eric Edholm of NFL.com will join us. I think he's had 2 mocks. Eric is one of those middle of the road guys. Some people have already put out 12 mock drafts.
40 mocks.
Some
one mock a day. I want to find that guy.
One prior to and then one right before. I think Eric's done 2, which is not outrageous. We'll see how many he's actually put out, but we've had him on before to talk draft. We will do just that with Eric at home of NFL.com coming up in less than 20 minutes here on Birds 365.